Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Purposeful Powerhouse podcast. Today, I have a special guest with me. Noelle Peterson and I are going to be talking about why it's very important for you to be careful what you ask for. So, welcome, Noelle. Lovely to have you here. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Megan. We're going to have a blast today.
Yeah, we are. I love that declaration. All right, up, and away. Let's make that happen. So, everybody can read about you and your amazing self in your bio, which is in the show notes. So, let's take it to the good stuff. Let's talk about, will you tell us a story about you, about maybe a moment that was a transition point for you or that really gave you some insights into what you're doing now and how you are living into your purpose?
Yeah, let me go back to August of 21. Yeah, I'll know we were in the middle of COVID, but for me, it was a life-saving day. I ended up in ICU with every tube you could think of because my body decided to break, and it had no warnings ahead of time. But thankfully, I was in the right place with the right doctors, and things worked out, and I am still here today. But the changing point for me was to acknowledge that we need to take advantage of the days we have. We don't know if we're going to have tomorrow, because that very well could have been my last day.
Wow, that's quite a moment. My goodness, I am grateful that you were in that space to get the care you needed. My goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was definitely very crazy. It's called an aortic dissection, the aorta that comes out of your heart. Mine came apart and needed to be reconstructed.
Whoa.
It's
Yeah.
major.
That's
Yeah.
major. That's really major. Vital.
Yeah.
Very vital. Holy moly. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. My
For
goodness.
me, for me, it was just another surgery because I was sleeping through the whole thing right after they diagnosed. But for my family, it was very traumatic, and it took about 6 months to get back on my feet fully.
Hmm.
So it's been a lot of time evaluating and processing. Just what am I here for? What am I doing? I've spent 48 years in life doing what needed done. I was Robert's wife. I was Nikel's mom. I was an employee, but I never took time to think of me.
Hmm.
So now that I had nothing else to do, I was sitting on the couch and I was, basically for 3 months told don't do anything because your chest had just been ripped open. And my husband and I came to the conclusion we just need to take advantage of every day we have.
Hmm.
So yeah,
That's a
I've
very,
worked.
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, so my focus now is to help women realize for themselves that they have a purpose. We all have unique abilities, talents, experiences, and we need to use them.
I love that. I'm so grateful that you took that opportunity and it was a chance for you to not only have perspective on the beautiful gift that is you, but every day that you have and that we each have and really seeing and living into how that made a shift for you and really deepening your awareness of your own purpose and now that being expressed is helping other people to find theirs. So why do you think that that is something that we all should dive into?
I mean, my history and my perspective, and when I've been in ministry for 20 plus years as a pastor's wife and missionary wife, and we've worked with people in many cultures and many scenarios, and it seems that we as women change our roles and we change who we are based on what's going on. For me, I was a wife and then a mom and then a missionary wife. And I became a principal at the school because that's what was needed. And then the director of communications at the church because that was needed. And just doing these things because that's what other people need. I never looked at me and my skill set and even thought for a moment, what do I want to do? What am I good at? So I've spent the last 12 months, that's what I'm focusing on is who am I? And if I'm feeling that way and the people I've worked with have felt that way, I a lot of women I think feel that way and we tend to just focus on our roles, not who we are. And we
Mhm.
are unique, special, wonderful individuals and we have a purpose. Yes, anybody can go do therapy, or anybody can be the PTA leader, or anybody can do all these different tasks. But what are you good at? What are you meant to do? And who's your audience? Because nobody's going to teach and reach your audience the way you will. Nobody's going to talk to and help those people the same way you would. I I can't say they're going to miss out, because there's other people that'll do things, but they're not going to do it the same way that you will.
No, I agree with you. And I love that because for many people in this community, authenticity and expression are core values. And so, really learning who we are first and foremost, and then realizing that your uniqueness is so needed. And it's such an important contribution to how you live into your gifts and how you show up and serve your community. And I think you made an interesting point there about how we define ourselves in relation to our surroundings and to our roles. And it really speaks to the importance of going inwards so that we can get to know ourselves and asking ourselves these questions, and really starting that journey, or continuing for many people in this community, continuing that journey of self exploration and self understanding, because that's really, I think, a huge part of the work that we're here to do as humans, is to really get to know ourselves at a much deeper level. Would you agree?
Oh, totally. And if we can't figure out who we are, how can we best help others? We're all
Mm.
we all want to help each other in different ways. It's all, I mean, some people are coaching, soccer team, or helping out at the school, or working their job, but you're all trying to do the best you can. And if you're not the best you, can you be the best employee?
Mm. That's quite a question to ponder, right? And that's it. And I think that's so powerful, because that's why I'm a huge advocate for helping people to create morning routines, because when we show
Mhm.
up for ourselves first, it really does impact and affect how we show up into everything else that we do. And so you're inviting people to go a bit deeper, of really leaning into focusing on who you are and what we're here for, and really asking ourselves those questions, because nobody else is going to ask them for you. The world is happy to tell you who you are if you let them.
100%.
But do you? No, probably not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everything that we do, it allows the society to dictate who we are. I
Hmm.
mean, we are very much a comfort society, and go with the flow, go through the motions. But
Hmm.
if you, like you said, you work on your routines, if you think about in the morning who you are, be grateful for what you have, and plan your time, you can be much more intentional with your
Hmm.
day, your week, and your life.
I agree. And that's really the huge part of being a purposeful powerhouse, is living from intention and living from that place of knowing that you are the co-creator of your life, that you get to decide how things are going to unfold, and being very, very purposeful about how you start your day, how you live your day, how you show up, and all of those things, because otherwise it can spiral out of control really quickly, right? We have this collective inside of our head just squawking away constantly. And then we have life and all the things. And for people that have little people, there's lots of demands on our attention. And so, what would you say that, from that point of view, how important is it for us to really begin to cultivate that relationship with our true self, that quiet voice, or that inner knowing, or the soul, or whatever word people like to use? How would you say that that can potentially impact us?
I think if you're intentional and you're thinking and focusing on you, and you can evaluate who you are, it's so valuable to be quiet and be able to hear that voice, whatever you call it. Because in the busyness of life, we don't listen. We won't hear what's being said. And I think that's where I was for many, many years, just going through the motions and evaluating life, and not actually not evaluating, just doing. And even being in ministry and knowing some of the things I knew from college and from our work, it's it didn't affect that. And we need to be able to see who we are and hear the answers that we're asking the universe. when you're praying, when you're seeking, when you're journaling, when you're thinking of what's going on or what is the best step, what's the next step in life, should I take this job or that? If you're not listening, you're not going to hear the answer. I mean, in couples counseling and stuff, we talk about you have two ears for a reason. Listen twice as much as you speak. But we need to do that ourselves as well. And it's harder to listen when there's not somebody in front of us talking, but it's very necessary. And I do like journaling because that's a great way to process.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it in the morning in your routine, or sometimes people like to journal at night to get the thoughts out of their brain before they go to bed. But I think that's a great way to process and take the time to listen what's coming to mind that you should write down and think about.
Yeah, that's so interesting because we often do think of communication as vocalization, speaking our words, speaking our truth, but there is so much of communication that is the awareness, the attention, the listening. And yet, we give so much of our attention externally to the outside world. And yet, how much of what directs us is happening internally. And so what are we going to how can we really cultivate that solid relationship with ourselves? That's really the key of all of this, right? And that's such a important part of routines and rituals. And so what I was hearing you say there too is learning to get quiet enough to hear that guidance, but how it's important for us to be intentional with our focus, because if we leave ourselves to the devices of the world and we're so focused on like what we should do and all the boxes we're meant to be ticking and all this, that, and the other thing, it can be easy to lose ourselves in all of that, and then that can cause a whole other cascade of issues. So I know that that's part of your work, is helping people to really lean into and learn how to ask for what they want, because we got to be careful what we wish for, right?
Right. And I've met with a couple people lately, and being very specific about what you ask for is very important. A quick little example is I was making my list of dreams in 2018, so 5 years ago, and I wrote down I wanted to be a stay-at-home grandma. Who doesn't, right? But what does that look like? And I bet you that probably means something different to several different people. I forgot to be specific, and COVID came, and my job sent me home. I was now a stay at home grandma with a job.
Oh, wow.
So, not quite the same thing as I was envisioning of the
Right.
flexibility to be with my grandkids. But it is very important to be specific, because when you verbalize and think and process and are planning on those future dreams, it's going to come to fruition how you envision it and how you verbalize it. You've got to be intentional, and you've got to put it out there. You can't keep it up in your head. The universe can't help you if you're not sharing the information. You got to be very specific in what you're wanting and what you want to do. Don't ask for a dream car. Go map it out, build it out on the website of the car you want, and picture yourself driving in it. When you're celebrating someday on some great thing you did, go rent that car and drive it for the weekend. Work on making that actual exact dream come true, and the universe will help you.
I love that. And that's actually one of the pillars of purposeful powerhouse practice, is experience it now. And that's how we use the tools of yoga and movement to really embody and express that fully vibrantly alive version of yourself that you see in your vision. But experiencing it now, that's so key. And I love that you're giving those suggestions, because really what we're after is a feeling. And we know that when we have those moments now, we're that much closer towards living into that reality, because we're a vibrational match for it, right? And so giving yourself that experience of sitting in the car, touching the leather or whatever upholstery. I don't know. I'm not a car person, but I know that there's upholstery, just sitting into it and having that full visceral experience, because it's going to give you something to anchor. Because I know, at least for me, that's where the work has been, to keep my mind very focused because it wants to just seek all the evidence to the contrary and focus on the fact that no, you're not driving a Tesla, you're driving a Toyota. Like, who are you kidding? And all that nonsense. So it's so interesting. And so I love that you're really giving people that clarity. And so maybe we can talk a little bit more about that, about like, so do you help people to use their journaling practice to lean into that? Or what other tools do you find to be helpful for people?
Yeah, I think journaling and a vision board are probably the two main physical aspects, but just processing and thinking of what does that dream look like? If you can picture yourself, and it depends on what stage of life you're at, what stage in your business you're at, how far out you can envision, right? So if you're, deep down into the business and you've got this great thing going, think 5 years. But if you're more new, think 3 to 6 months, and just think of where do you want to be at that time frame? What is it that you want to feel? How do you want to be? Because it's not all about what you want, what you have. Like you said, it's a feeling. What do you want to be? How do you want to feel? And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you can put physical things in there so you can get a feeling in your mind, put yourself in that moment. But then also think about some of the steps that maybe you can mark to get there. So like if you wanted to be somewhere in 3 months, it's not going to be a huge change from where you're at, right? Because there's not a whole lot of time between now and then. But when you get there, how are you going to celebrate? Think about it and make a list of celebration ideas so that when you get those clients and have those moments that you can celebrate, you need to have something that you can do, because sometimes celebration is going out to dinner, sometimes it's going on a trip. There's a whole wide range of things at different cost, but also emotion. And any little celebration you do is going to help your brain acknowledge this was a great thing and keep you moving down that path.
I love that because I'm 100% on board with that, which is why I'm going to give you some gold stars and why I have, if for those of you that are just listening later, I'm waving around a little fun gold star explosion for Noelle. But what I have people do, I send all of my students and my clients sheets of gold star stickers so that we can celebrate, because that's it, is like these little wins, right? And giving you that sense of appreciation and acknowledgement that we're seeking, and learning to do that for ourselves it's a real art, because so easily we get derailed. And so what can you suggest for people that maybe have a vision but it feels really far out from now, that they find that they're getting distracted, maybe discouraged by the fact that there is such a gap, or that it feels like, I don't know if it's inaccessible. Do you suggest that or I don't know if it's accessible. Do you suggest that they scale it back, or are there certain things that you find to be helpful for people to kind of move beyond that doubt?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that, because you got the imposter syndrome and our limiting beliefs that mess with our head. And me as a stay-at-home grandma now, the time that I have alone when my husband's off on a trip or whatnot, my head is my worst enemy. So I know that in my current situation, I still have major conflict in my head. When I get in on a path that's negative and I'm alone, it's horrific. I can just be horrible. But those limiting beliefs that we grow up with and we learn and that are influenced through our life can be a real limiting factor to our growth. So doing some work on affirmations and seeing what those limiting beliefs are and working towards changing those is a huge part of it. But also evaluating, is your dream too far down the road for where you're at? Maybe putting in some milestones more closer to where you are. So you look at your 3, 6, 12-month timeframes, and maybe focusing on those visions might be more beneficial if your dream is too far down the road, because it can get overwhelming. It is so far out there, but it is good to have that far-reaching dream, because if you want to be like I would love to be a person on stage in like McNichols, or man, that's dating myself, in a big stadium, way a huge area. But that's not where I'm at. So thinking of things that, okay, so the stepping stones are, 100 people, 1,000 people, 5,000, and building it and focusing on that. But the specificity and the time stamp are vital. And those come from Mark Victor Hansen, who has mentored a friend of mine for 18 years. Put a date on it. When do you want to have that by? And remind yourself daily what your goals are, what your vision is. If you can write it out in your journal, in your morning routine, evening routine, and just even if you're looking at it, keep it up on the wall somewhere or in a journal that you're writing it out. Put a date on those things. And if it is far out there, put several dates. This is where I'm going to be in 6 months. This is where I'm going to be in a year. This is where I'm going to be in 5 years. Because you need to set those out there so that you and the universe can be working on it. But faith without works is dead. You have to trust and believe it's going to happen, but you also have to work on it. You can't just say, I'm going to be a great singer and be like Miley Cyrus or, whoever's out there without doing anything. You've got to work on it also and take some steps to make that happen.
I agreed. I heard, so we, in this community, and what I hear you speaking about is we talk a lot about the law of attraction and the law of vibration and being a match to things and being in that place of alignment. But a lesser known law is the law of Goa, who I learned about from John Assaraf, who's an incredible, he was in the movie The Secret, and he talks a lot about stuff like this. And so the law of Goa is the law of getting up off your ass and taking action.
Exactly. Yep. That's a good one too.
I know, I thought it was pretty funny, but it really is, it's there. We need to take that step forward. And I love that idea of when we step forward, the universe, God, source, nature responds. But we can't just sit in that place of visualization. That's important. These are all important tools. But we need to create that momentum within ourselves by taking the aligned action. And so I love that you have people lean into that, and I do as well. That's part of the morning routine is really connecting to our goals, and from that place of embodiment and experiencing now what action can you take, right? Because it is about taking those little steps forward. Sometimes you're going to be leaping and bounding and taking all sorts of action, and sometimes action is resting. Like there's always variance to that. And so it's just really knowing what is aligned for you that day, but also moving towards your big vision and to your goals. So I love that you shared that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So I know that you have a helpful tool to help people gain some more insight into everything that we're talking about today. Will you tell them a little bit about that, please?
Yeah. So one of the activities in my book that I will share if anybody wants to log in is just a tool to evaluate where you're at in different areas to help you focus on what you need to work on now to get you moving in that direction towards your dream goal. And the website is Add Value to Life. So it's addvalue, the number 2 life.com/where, WHERE. And it'll just help you take a few quick seconds to answer a couple questions, and it'll send you the results. And then if you're interested, you can work with me more, but that's just a little tool to help you get a grasp on where you're at.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we will definitely link that up in the show notes. So make sure to check that out, because I don't know about you, but I always love learning about myself, and quizzes are fun. So definitely go and check that out. And so as we wrap up today, Noelle, we have a question that we ask of every guest. And what does it mean to you to be a purposeful powerhouse?
Be intentional in what you are. The hardest question for some people is, what do you want? And when you can focus on who you are and what you want and what you're here for, oh man, the impact you can have in the world that you want to have it in is just astronomical. You are your best when you know what you want and you're intentional on making it happen.
Hear, hear. I love that. Yay. Awesome. Well, thank you for being your intentional self today, Noelle. I really love chatting with you. And I know that people are going to have some incredible takeaways. So make sure to take a screenshot and tag us and share what landed for you, because I know we would both really love to know that. And so make sure to go ahead and pop over and do Noelle's quiz and see where you're at and get some incredible guidance from her to support you on your journey to living into your most aligned and inspired and purposeful powerhouse self every day. So thank you again, Noelle. It was lovely to chat with you.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's been wonderful.
Very good. All right, everybody. Until next time, take good care and make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.